What is going on, everyone? This is NinjaGeek here, and welcome back to another Overwatch video. In this video, I want to talk about competitive Season 3, and pretty much where I got placed and why I'm going solo queue, in my test results, essentially, for going solo queue. And the reason why I decided to go solo queue is I did it back in Season 2, and it somewhat worked. But in Season 3, I think I got placed at 2490, which is very close to Platinum, and I ended up hitting Platinum, of course, because it's only 10 points. So if you win one game, I was in Platinum. And now I'm hovering around the 2700 mark. Sometimes I lose my game, sometimes I win, but I'm generally around the 2700 mark in Platinum, of course. And so what happened was, I went to go play solo queue comp last night to try and test some results out to see what would happen. And I'm going to explain the results. Now, before I get started, I just want to say that I played 4 games, so I tested in 4 games about what happened, if I won, lost, etc., what happened. And I know 4 games is definitely nowhere near enough to make a solid answer on some results. For competitive, of course, because 4 games is pretty much nothing. If you were talking about a test of 100 games or 1,000 even, that's pretty much a good result. But 4 games is pretty minimal. However, I want to explain why solo queue I think is not that bad of an idea. And in fact, I would almost say to not go into competitive with more than 3 people. 3 people is the maximum you want to have. And the reason is because while you may think, yeah, 6 people, you need 6 people so you can all communicate and you have no randoms. And while that's all good and fun and your team can all communicate, so can the other team, because when it matches you with 6 people, it matches them with 6 people. It's not a split community, obviously. It's not going to put you with a full party of 6 and them with a full random team. Overwatch is just not going to do that. So when you go up with 6 people, 6v6 partied up, it's pretty hard and difficult to even play to a really good level, and most of the times I ended up losing the matches that we did with 6 people. However, when you go in there with a very minimal amount, you have a better chance of the enemy team not being nearly as good or not having better communication than your team. And if you go on there solo queue, sometimes you get people in the voice chat. I'm on console, so it's a little bit more rare, but sometimes you don't. But the thing that we have to understand, and you have to understand, is that solo queuing is much, much easier, not to necessarily win, but to play, because when you solo queue, everyone on the other team is either in a party of 2 or maybe 3 at some points, but the rest of them are solo queuing. So it really balances out the teams in that respect. And I'm going to go over other tips, obviously, in this video as well. But first of all, in the 4 games that I played of competitive Season 3, we completely steamrolled the other team the first 2 games, and you're thinking, wow, that's really good for going in their solo queue. We really steamrolled them. I was playing Soldier in all 4 of these games, a hero that I don't really play at all in competitive because I am main Reaper, so, Reaper's my choice. But when it came time to solo queue, I was like, okay, maybe I should try Soldier out because he's got more damage at range. I'll try that. And it actually worked out pretty well. Now, the 3rd game that we went into, we completely got steamrolled. Like, the enemy team was just steamrolling our team, and I knew that we were not going to win. And that's why you're not seeing any gameplay of the 3rd game, because it's not fun to watch, people getting steamrolled and myself getting steamrolled. But in the 4th game, we actually came back, and it was very, very close. A very, very, I guess you could say, competitive match. We won a round, they won a round, we won a round, they won a round. It was 2v2, and at the end, we ended up picking off the win at the end. So we won 3 games, lost 1 game, and we steamrolled 2 of those games. We had a close game for the 3rd game, and one of those games we completely got steamrolled. So that is how my experience went. But the thing that I really have to stress is that obviously, team comp is very, very important and competitive, but it also is important to play heroes that you know how to play and you know how to play well. So for instance, if your team is loaded up and you're a DPS like me, I'll say, for example, like, let's say you're a main DPS and you already have, like, 3 DPS on the team, 3 DPS could work. Most important, I would say go 2 DPS, 2 tanks, and 2 supports, maybe 3 DPS, 2 tanks, and 1 support if you could handle it. But if you already have 3 DPS and you play DPS, you have to pick somebody else because you really can't go in there and play DPS. However, if you pick a hero, you're like, oh, well, I can't really go DPS because we have a lot of DPS, so I'm going to go a tank like Reinhardt. Like, for me personally, I'm not that good of a Reinhardt, so let's say you wanted to go tank because you needed a tank and you went Reinhardt. Well, I'm not that good of a Reinhardt, so obviously I'm not going to be good and I'm going to lose, and you don't want that to happen at all. And another thing that I would say, besides picking heroes that you're really, really good at, your ultimate, right? I think in one of the recent patches, they actually updated or nerfed the ultimate so that it costs like 25% extra per each hero. So your ultimate charge doesn't charge up as fast as it used to. But on the other hand, that makes it more of a competitive and a strategic use to it, and that's exactly what you want. Most of the times when I played as Reaper, if I was like off of a ledge, like my team, let's say my team almost got team wiped, we had like 2 or 3 people maybe alive, maybe 2 people, and I'm sitting off of a ledge, I see a whole enemy team of 5 right there, it's like, oh, look at what I could do, I could wipe them all. I'll jump down, hit Y, and we could probably secure this point. But that's an absolute no-no. Now, in some scenarios, yeah, if the enemy team isn't really paying attention, and you may be able to get that off. But the fact is that your team is dead, and why would you just waste an ult? So most of the times what'll happen is I would press Y, go down there, and maybe get 1, maybe 2 of them, but Roadhog would usually hook me, and I'm dead. Now, the problem with that is, okay, yeah, I killed 2 of them, but they still have 3 alive. Your team is completely wiped and they're dead, so they weren't even on the point when I ulted, and now, not only that, you died, but now you don't even have an ult, and you have to build up your ult again, and the problem is that now you just pretty much costed the game. You could have costed the game for your whole entire team, and you don't want to do that. When I was playing Soldier, I actually did make one mistake, which I will show off here. I used my ult to try and push up when there was a Hanzo and a Soldier to try and get the back line, and then I was planning on going into the point afterwards with my ult, but it didn't really work out, as you're going to be seeing, because I rushed in there, and Hanzo backed off to the right, Soldier went to the left, and I was like, okay, I'll go for Hanzo first, so I turned the corner, get Hanzo, but the Soldier killed me, and it pretty much was a waste of an ultimate there, because I only killed 1 person, so it really wasn't that great. But not only that, but I died in the process, wasted my ult, and Soldier was still alive. Not a good use of an ult. However, most of the times when I was playing Soldier, I really didn't make a lot of mistakes, I have to say so for myself, because what I did was I saved onto my ult till my team pushed up. We had a really good push up, and then I would flank from the enemy behind in the back line, get down their supports with the ultimate, and I would take them all down, as you're seeing now in this clip where I killed at least 3 of them, and we pushed up to take the point on Ilios, and it was a really good moment, and you just have to kind of know when to use your ultimate. Now, it's hard to predict. Sometimes you're going to get the wasted ultimates and the bad ultimates. There's a difference between a wasted ultimate and a bad ultimate. A wasted ultimate is pretty much what I described, where you just completely waste it because you think that you're going to get them all, and you see a group of them, you're like, yeah, let's go, and you end up completely failing. You know that you're going to fail beforehand, but you do it because you just see a lot of them there. That's a wasted ult. But sometimes you just get a bad ult where everything is planned out perfectly, your team is pushed up and everything, but then something just happens, maybe you get hooked by mistake, by accident, and every one of those happens. But you just have to know the ultimate is extremely important, and holding on to it, of course, if you're at the end of a game, like let's say you're in the last 30 seconds, you need to make a push-up, use the ultimate, because it's better to use the ult than to lose and die without using the ult and still having it when you could have potentially won if you used your ult. But generally considering, if you're in the middle of a match, don't just run in there and use your ult like a regular ability, because it's not going to work. And that's a really huge strategy and tip in competitive. And that's how I pretty much won a lot of these solo games that I played. I won 3 out of 4. And if you do the math on that, that's going to get you, if you keep winning 3 out of every 4 games you play, you're going to eventually keep increasing your competitive rank if you can maintain the same level of skill that you had in all of your previous games. Of course, given that your teammates are not either trolling, because of course I did have a Symmetra on attack who put a teleporter off the map troll once in competitive. I don't even want to talk about that experience. I've had numerous amounts of people go Bastion attack, not really that good. Some of them actually worked out. I actually had one instance where we had an attack Bastion and he completely destroyed the other team, fine. But for the most part, it's hard because you have to rely on your other teammates when you go in solo queue. But if you can do it and you can save your ults for a perfect time like I described, I think that it's going solo queue or maybe with another person, or at most, maybe 3. That's the best way to do competitive for Season 3, in my own personal opinion. But you can let me know about your competitive experiences down below in the comments. I will see you on the next one. This is NinjaGeek. I'm out, and peace.